Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Draw My Life. You may know me as the dashing young man who swept the Queen of Navarre for feet, but I am most of all to be revered for my IQM work on logic. You see, it all began in the small town of Bethune in the wonderful country of France, sometime before 1300. Maman was not good at keeping track of the years. I excelled in my studies in my youth and continued my education at the Collège Limonier, where I was awarded a benefice, later finishing at the University of Paris, the center of learning in Christian Europe at the time. Not to brag, where I received my Master of Arts degree and formal license, considered inferior, fadoodle if you ask me, to teach by the mid-1320s, although I did not receive my doctorate in the superior faculty of theology, much to the chagrin of my contemporaries. After receiving my teaching license, I went on to become an arts master at the University of Paris. Here, even without a doctorate, I served twice as university rector in 1328 and 1340. During my time at the university, I supported myself with numerous benefices. However, due to my many accolades, there are many bobtails about me, the most famous of them being that I made the Queen of Navarre into a bed-swerver, and that this dalliance was what caused the king to sentence me to be tied in a sack and thrown into the river Seine. This just isn't true. While I was sentenced and saved by one of my loyal students, Queen Janine died when I was but a child of 5. Rather, it was her daughter, Queen Marguerite, that called for my sentencing. Not because we were lovers, but because I warned my scholars of her flirtful practices. In fact, this bobtail is so well known that it even appears in later works of French literature. It all spurred from the fact that at the time, scholasticism was on the decline, so people of faith saw the philosophical descendants of Aristotle as a threat to papal authority and sought to snuff it out. Hence, Queen Marguerite's attempt to silence me. Now, amongst my philosophical contributions, there have also been some misaccreditations, such as the case of Buridan's ass, a scenario in which a donkey finds himself halfway between two equally big and delicious piles of hay. Because he lacks a reason to choose one over the other, he cannot decide which one to eat, and thus starves to death. This, however, is not my view, but a variation of Aristotle's criticism of sophists. I did respond to this writing, on the heavens, with my own example of a dog with 2 equal amounts of food placed before him, concluding that as the 2 were equally desirable, the trundle-tail must choose at random which to eat. Many of my works are commentaries on Aristotle's philosophy, and my masterwork, Summae de Dialectica, started out as a commentary on Peter of Spain, on the Summae Logicale, but it quickly evolved into an original piece, independent of Peter's. In fact, the Summae became the textbook used in all of my logic courses at the university. Much of my Dialectica is based off the idea that there are 2 parts to logic. The Logicae Docens, the theoretical, which teaches us how and from what arguments should be constructed, whether those arguments be demonstrative, dialectical, or of some other kind, and the Logica Utens, which uses arguments in order to prove whether some conclusion is evident, regardless of the subject matter of the conclusion. One of the most famous parts of my Dialectica was the final portion, the Sophismata and its discussion on paradoxes. Of particular interest is often my refutation of the 6th sophism, I say something false, also known as the liar paradox. This statement seems to have no truth value, as if you were to say that it is true, then the statement must be false. However, if the statement is false, then it follows that it must be true. This is impossible, as a statement cannot be both true and false simultaneously, as I stated in Treatise 1 in the Law of Contradictories. The proposition is one of the insolubles that can only be solved by reasoning on what the basis of a proposition is considered to be true or false. When we participate in this reasoning, we see that the proposition is false. This is because from every proposition P, it follows that P is true as an antecedent proposition. However, if from P there is some truth and some falsity, then P is false due to the taint of falsehood. That is all we have time for, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching Draw My Life.